I don't serve people like you." The words hit the air like shattered glass, loud enough to slice through the steady hum of printers and keyboards, loud enough for every head in the branch to lift, turn, and stare. Behind the marble counter sat the branch manager, a woman in a fitted navy suit, blonde hair tucked neatly behind her ear. Her blue eyes carried that sharp, managerial certainty, the kind that dismissed without question, without doubt. She didn't whisper. She didn't try to hide her disdain. She wanted the whole lobby to hear. On the other side of the counter stood Maya Carter, a young black woman in a pale hoodie, a black baseball cap pulled low, her hands resting calmly on the edge of the desk. Her face was unreadable, no outrage, no pleading, just silence, the kind of silence that unsettled. Customers paused mid-transaction, frozen with deposit slips still in hand. A man waiting in line whispered under his breath, "Did she really say that out loud?" Another woman shook her head, murmuring, "Unbelievable." But no one moved. They all watched. The manager leaned forward slightly, her voice clipped. "This bank has standards. You don't look like someone who qualifies. Why don't you try somewhere more fitting?" She slid the withdrawal slip back across the counter like it was contaminated. The paper stopped just short of Maya's fingers. Maya didn't touch it. The fluorescent lights above hummed faintly. A phone rang in the distance. Even the tapping of keys from the office behind them seemed to fade, as if the entire branch had been swallowed by the moment. Maya exhaled slowly, steady, unhurried. And still, she said nothing. The silence was louder than any protest. "Before we continue, where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. And if you believe in dignity and justice, hit like and subscribe." These stories spark change, and we're glad you're here. Now, back to Maya Carter. The manager crossed her arms, smirking with confidence she hadn't earned. "Do you understand? I don't serve people like you. You need to leave." The words hung heavy, coated in arrogance. The insult was public. The stage was set. And Maya Carter, the woman they thought was powerless, hadn't even begun to speak. The manager slid the slip of paper even farther across the counter, her manicured nails tapping once, twice against the marble. "Did you hear me?" she said louder this time, so the back of the lobby could catch it. "We don't serve people who don't belong here. Try somewhere else." A hush rippled through the line of customers waiting. The man in the gray suit shifted uncomfortably, glancing between Maya and the manager. "She filled out the form right," he whispered to the woman beside him. The woman shook her head. "Doesn't matter, look at her. They'll never approve it." A mother holding a toddler stepped aside, rocking the child as her eyes narrowed at the counter. "That's not right," she muttered under her breath. The security guard by the door straightened, unsure if he should step in. His eyes lingered on Maya, calm, unmoving, her cap shadowing her face. The manager crossed her arms now, satisfied that her authority was unquestioned. "Listen," she said, her tone dripping with condescension. "Even if you had the balance, we can't just hand over that kind of cash to someone who can't prove she deserves it. You don't walk in here dressed like that and expect special treatment." Every word was designed to sting, every syllable an assumption. Maya still didn't answer. She stood there, hands resting on the counter, shoulders steady, eyes locked on the woman in front of her. The silence unsettled more than protest could have. Behind them, a young bank teller at a neighboring desk kept stealing glances. His screen flickered with numbers, but he wasn't typing. His lips pressed into a tight line, as if he wanted to speak but knew the cost of defiance. Another customer pulled out a phone, not openly, just low enough to record without drawing attention. A red light blinked faintly. The manager leaned forward again, dropping her voice into something sharper. "If you don't leave, I'll have security escort you out. Don't test me." The sound of those words clashed with the lobby's stillness. Someone near the back muttered, "She's going too far." And yet Maya said nothing. Not a word, not a plea, not even a flinch. The silence grew heavier, pressing on every corner of the room. The lobby wasn't just watching anymore, it was waiting. The marble clock on the wall ticked once, twice. The manager's words still hung in the air, but Maya didn't pick them up. She stood there, still, silent, her hands resting lightly on the counter, her face unreadable under the brim of her cap. It should have looked like surrender, but it didn't. The silence wasn't weakness, it was weight. It pressed down on the room, heavier with every passing second. The man in the gray suit cleared his throat, glancing around nervously. "Why isn't she saying anything?" he whispered to the woman next to him. "She doesn't have to," the woman murmured. Look at her. She's not moving. She's not scared. A young teller 2 counters over couldn't take his eyes off Maya. His fingers hovered over the keyboard, unmoving. He leaned closer to his colleague, whispering, "She gave the right documents." Everything matched. I checked. His colleague shifted uncomfortably, whispering back, "Don't say that too loud. You'll lose your job." The mother, rocking her toddler, pressed her lips together. Her gaze flicked from the manager's smirk to Maya's silence. She bounced the child on her hip and muttered, "I've been here before. Different face. Same story." The manager, irritated by the lack of reaction, tapped the counter again. Louder. Sharper. "You're wasting everyone's time. Leave now before I have to make it official." But her voice cracked slightly on official. The silence was starting to work against her. Phones began to shift in hands, some guests holding them lower, some raising them higher. A faint red light blinked again. Another lens pointed in her direction. The branch was no longer just a bank. It was a stage, and Maya Carter, without a word, had become the lead. The security guard shifted his weight from one leg to the other. His brow furrowed. He wasn't moving toward her anymore. He was watching the manager now. The young teller finally spoke up, voice trembling but clear. "Her documents are valid. She's a client. We should process the withdrawal." The manager's head snapped in his direction, eyes flashing like knives. "Stay out of this." But the words didn't erase what was said. They only marked it louder. Gasps fluttered across the lobby. Murmur spread. The teller confirmed it. "She's being denied for no reason." And still, Maya stood silent. Her stillness screamed louder than their noise. It wasn't just a woman waiting at a counter anymore. It was a battle between arrogance and restraint. And arrogance was beginning to sweat. The branch had shifted. What started as a routine afternoon was now a standoff. One woman silent, another unraveling, and an entire room leaning in to see which would break first. The manager's smirk collapsed into sharpness. Her voice rose, slicing across the marble lobby. "Security!" she barked, her hand snapping toward the guard by the entrance. "Remove her! Now!" The command cracked like a whip. Customers flinched. The toddler on the mother's hip whimpered. The security guard hesitated. His eyes flicked between Maya, still steady, still silent, and the woman behind the counter, her face flushed with authority teetering on panic. Maya didn't move. She didn't plead. Her silence pressed harder, heavier. The man in the gray suit muttered under his breath, "This is going too far." The woman beside him whispered, "She's not doing anything wrong. This is discrimination, plain and simple." "How?" The young teller stood halfway from his chair now, voice louder than before. "Her paperwork is valid. You're denying her because of how she looks." The manager snapped around, her voice cracking. "Enough." She slammed a palm against the counter, the sound echoing like a gavel. "You're out of line. Do your job or you'll be next." But the words didn't silence the teller. They only fueled the room. Gasps, whispers, then louder murmurs. Phones angled higher. Dozens of little red lights blinked like fireflies, catching every movement, every sneer, every hesitation. The mother with the child stepped forward now, her voice firm. "You're humiliating her for nothing. Everyone here can see it." The manager's cheeks burned red. "Stay out of this." She jabbed a finger toward Maya again, her voice shrill now. "She doesn't belong in this bank. She doesn't belong in this lobby." The words hung like poison, too loud to be ignored, too clear to be denied. The guard shifted again, but he didn't move forward. He planted his feet instead, caught between orders and conscience. His jaw tightened. His arms stayed at his sides. And still Maya Carter said nothing. The silence had grown unbearable. The crowd was no longer neutral. Every second dragged the manager deeper into her own echo chamber of arrogance. She didn't see it yet, but the room had already turned against her. And in that silence, in that unbearable stillness, Maya was holding the entire lobby in the palm of her hand. The air inside the branch felt electric. Every word from the manager had landed like sparks on dry wood, and Maya's silence had let those sparks smolder, waiting for the fire. Now, she moved. Slowly, deliberately, Maya slid one hand into the pocket of her hoodie, not rushed, not nervous, controlled. Her other hand stayed planted on the counter, steady as stone. The crowd held its breath. When her hand emerged, it wasn't empty. It held a sleek black phone, its glass catching the fluorescent light above. She raised it to her ear with calm precision, pressing a single button, Her voice, low and steady, cut through the lobby. "Nia, mark this down. Effective immediately." The name, the tone, it was professional, decisive. Not the voice of someone begging for service. The voice of someone giving orders. The manager blinked, thrown for a second. Then she scoffed, trying to recover. "Oh, please. Who do you think you're calling? Your cousin? What are you going to do, complain on Yelp?" Her laughter rang false. Even she could hear it. From the phone, a crisp female voice answered, "Understood. Do you want me to initiate now?" Maya's eyes never left the manager. Her face betrayed nothing. Calm, controlled. "Yes, initiate. Start with this branch." Gasps broke across the room. A man near the ATM muttered, "What did she just say?" The young teller's eyes widened, his breath catching. The manager let out a sharp laugh, louder this time, desperate. "Ridiculous. She's bluffing. Don't fall for this act." She gestured broadly to the customers, seeking validation, but the room wasn't laughing with her. Every camera phone angled closer. Every witness leaned in. The security guard, still frozen near the door, frowned. His eyes darted between Maya and the manager. Something in his posture shifted. Respect. The young teller whispered under his breath, barely audible, "She's not bluffing." And Maya, still calm, still silent except for the phone, gave one more command. "Send the alert. Stakeholders first." The line went quiet except for a faint typing sound. Then the voice replied, "Confirmed. Distribution begins now." The branch wasn't humming anymore. It was holding its breath. For the first time, the manager's smirk cracked. Her hand, still resting on the counter, trembled almost imperceptibly. She leaned forward, voice strained. What are you doing?" But Maya Carter didn't answer her. She didn't need to. The shift had already begun. The silence that followed was not empty. It was charged like the pause before thunder splits the sky. Maya lowered the phone slowly, her gaze locked on the manager who had spent the last 10 minutes trying to erase her dignity. The phone screen still glowed in her hand, the faint hum of the line alive in the background. The manager tried to recover her footing. She straightened her jacket, forced a smirk back onto her face. "Cute trick," she said, though her voice was thinner now. "Who do you think you are? Playing CEO in a hoodie?" She let out a brittle laugh. "Newsflash, you're in my branch, and I decide who gets served." Maya tilted her head, calm, deliberate. Her eyes didn't blink. Her voice, when it came, was steady, even but it cut deeper than any shout. "Correction. This is my branch, and I decide who manages it." The words dropped like a hammer. For a moment, no one breathed. Then, gasps rippled through the lobby like waves. The young teller froze, his mouth open. "Wait," she said, "my branch." The man in the gray suit leaned forward, whispering fiercely to his neighbor. "She's the owner. She's the damn owner." The manager's smirk fell apart. What are you talking about?" Her laugh cracked. "Impossible. If you were the owner, you wouldn't be standing here like this." Maya stepped closer to the counter, her voice never rising. "I am Maya Carter, CEO of Carter Global Holdings. This bank, every branch, every floor, every desk answers to me." The manager staggered back a step, her hand gripping the edge of the desk as if it might save her from falling. Her face drained of color. Phones lifted higher. Dozens of little cameras caught the moment from every angle. The words were no longer confined to marble walls. They were already escaping into the world outside. The mother holding her child whispered, awestruck, "She's the CEO. She owns this place." Her toddler clapped its small hands as if sensing the room's shift. The security guard straightened fully now. He no longer looked to the manager for orders. His eyes were on Maya, respectful, steady, awaiting instruction. The young teller's shoulders eased, his face breaking into the smallest of smiles. Relief, vindication. The manager shook her head wildly, denial clinging to her voice. "No, this is some kind of trick. You're lying." But the crowd wasn't buying it. The murmurs grew louder, overlapping, undeniable. She just ended a call to her assistant. She gave commands, not requests. "She owns this bank. You can see it." And Maya, calm as stone, delivered the line that ended any doubt. 7 minutes ago, you denied me service. 7 minutes later, I remind you I'm the reason you have a desk to sit behind. The branch erupted not in chaos, but in revelation. And the manager knew. Her empire of arrogance had just collapsed, right there on the polished floor. The marble lobby was no longer hers. The manager stood behind the counter, trembling, her authority stripped bare under the weight of Maya's word. What had once been her kingdom was now a courtroom, and the verdict was about to be delivered. Maya Carter didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. Her calmness cut sharper than any scream. "You are terminated. Effective immediately." The words rang out clear. Final. The manager blinked rapidly, like someone trying to wake from a nightmare. You can't fire me. I've been here 15 years. I've built this branch. Maya's eyes didn't waver. "And in 7 minutes you destroyed every one of those years. You turned my bank into a stage for your prejudice. You embarrassed this institution. You embarrassed yourself. And now, you're finished." The security guard stepped forward not toward Maya, but toward the manager. He didn't touch her, didn't need to. His posture said it all. Her authority was gone. The young teller straightened, relief washing over his face. He turned to the customers still holding their phones up, his voice steady now. "You all heard it. She's no longer manager." Applause broke out, not loud at first, but rippling, spreading across the lobby like fire-catching paper. A customer near the line clapped slowly, then faster. The mother with the toddler nodded firmly, bouncing her child as she joined in. Others followed, until the sound filled the marble chamber, drowning out the manager's shallow protests. The manager's face crumpled. She tried to speak again, but her voice was lost under the rhythm of applause. She wasn't a leader anymore. She was just noise. Maya turned slightly, phone still in hand. She spoke calmly into it. "Note it for the record. Manager dismissed. Position vacant. Begin transition immediately." The voice on the line confirmed crisply. "Logged and processed. Done." Maya ended the call and slipped the phone back into her hoodie pocket. Then, finally, she turned away from the counter. The crowd parted for her, phones tilted, recording every step. The security guard opened the glass doors, light spilling into the lobby as Maya approached. Just before stepping through, she paused. The applause hushed, waiting. She looked back once, her gaze sweeping the room, the witnesses, the cameras, the disgraced manager. Her voice carried like judgment carved in stone. "Respect isn't optional. It's the only currency that never loses value." Ugh. Then she walked out, leaving silence in her wake. Not weakness, not defeat, but the silence of authority, the kind that ends arguments, rewrites rooms, and lingers long after the footsteps fade. The doors closed softly behind her. And in that moment, everyone in the branch knew. They had just watched power reveal itself, in real time, in the form of a black CEO who didn't need to shout to make the world listen. The lobby didn't sound like a bank anymore. It sounded like a courtroom that had just heard its verdict. Some clapped, some whispered, others only stared. But everyone knew they had witnessed a shift, power revealed, arrogance dismantled. Maya Carter didn't rush. She never did. She slid her phone back into her hoodie pocket, turned calmly from the counter, and began to walk. Her steps echoed against the marble floor, measured, deliberate, each one heavier than the manager's shrill protests that still tried to pierce the air. But no one was listening to the manager anymore. The security guard moved first. Without a word, he left his post at the door, walked to the glass double doors, and pulled them wide open. The sunlight outside spilled into the lobby, warm and golden, casting a halo across Maya's figure as she advanced. The customers parted naturally, forming a quiet aisle. Phones lifted higher, their red lights blinking, trying to capture every second before she vanished into the light. Some customers whispered encouragement under their breath, as if she could hear them. She showed them, "That's real power. I'll never forget this." The mother with the toddler held her child close, whispering, "That's how dignity walks." The toddler clapped again, and this time, people smiled. The young teller stood, no longer hiding his admiration. He clapped once, sharply, then again. Soon others joined him. The sound wasn't loud, not a roar, but a ripple of respect that followed her path. Maya didn't turn to acknowledge it. She didn't need to. Her silence had already said more than words could. Her walk, calm, unhurried, wasn't just an exit. It was a declaration. Power doesn't have to shout to be heard. At the counter, the former manager's voice broke through the applause, shrill and desperate. "You'll regret this. She can't just—" But her words were drowned out. Customers hissed, some shaking their heads, others filming her breakdown with quiet judgment. The authority she once wielded had evaporated. She wasn't feared anymore, she was pitied. Maya reached the doors, sunlight illuminating her face now. The guard nodded once, a silent salute. She gave a slight incline of her head, almost imperceptible, but enough. Then she crossed the threshold. The doors remained open behind her, and for a heartbeat, no one moved. The marble lobby was filled only with the sound of her fading footsteps and the quiet click of phones recording until the very last frame. Inside, customers exhaled as if a storm had passed. Outside, whispers spread. A small crowd on the sidewalk glanced up, drawn by the glow spilling out of the branch and the quiet reverence of those inside. Maya didn't look back. She didn't have to. Her walkout had already written itself into the memory of every person in that lobby. It didn't take hours. It didn't even take 30 minutes. By the time Maya Carter's car turned the corner, the story had already escaped the marble lobby and was racing through the veins of the internet. The first clip went live less than 2 minutes after she walked out. A shaky phone recording from the man in the gray suit, the manager shouting, "She doesn't belong in this bank," followed by Maya's calm voice, steady as stone. "Correction. This is my branch, and I decide who manages it. Hez." The caption was simple. "You won't believe what just happened at my bank." It exploded. Within minutes, likes stacked in the thousands. Comments poured in faster than the notifications could load. She kept her cool the entire time. This is why black women in power terrify them. Justice served in real time. Another clip surfaced, posted by the mother with the toddler. Her angle captured Maya's final walk to the doors, the crowd parting for her, the toddler clapping softly as she left. The internet seized it, replayed it, slowed it down. They called it the walkout heard around the world. On Twitter, a hashtag trended within the hour. Number Black CEO, number Bank Justice, number 7 minutes. On TikTok, creators added dramatic music to the footage, captioned it with bold letters. "She fired the manager on the spot." Even local news outlets picked it up almost instantly. Their headlines glowed across screens. Black CEO denied service at her own bank fires manager in viral confrontation. The clip of Maya's silence, her phone raised to her ear, was stitched, duetted, remixed 1,000 different ways. Some slowed it down, emphasizing the tension. Others cut the manager's shouting against Maya's calm reveal, calling it the perfect masterclass in dignity. The comments multiplied, not just outrage but reverence. She didn't need to yell. That's true power. Her silence hit harder than any speech. "I want my daughter to see this." By the end of the afternoon, millions had watched. Maya Carter wasn't just a CEO anymore. She was a symbol, a story, a lesson replayed on screens in homes, cafes, buses, offices. Inside the branch, the young teller scrolled his feed on break. His face lit up with disbelief. "It's everywhere," he whispered. His colleague leaned over, eyes wide. "She went viral. She's trending worldwide." Oh, the former manager's name trended too, but for all the wrong reasons. Screenshots of her sneer, her finger pointing, her voice captured mid-scream became memes, captions plastered across the internet. "This is how you lose your job in 7 minutes." And somewhere beyond the glare of screens and headlines, Maya Carter sat quietly in the back of her car, the city rolling past the tinted glass. Her phone buzzed endlessly, but she didn't reach for it. She didn't need to. The world had already taken the story and run with it. By nightfall, the confrontation wasn't just a clip, it was a headline, a debate, a mirror held up to the world. Major news outlets ran with it first. The local channel aired the footage, the anchor's voice grave. "A bank manager was terminated on the spot today after denying withdrawal service to a woman she believed didn't belong." That woman? The CEO of the very bank. National stations picked it up next, their chyrons flashing bold. "Black CO denied, then fires manager." On talk radio, callers lit up the lines. A woman's voice, angry. "I've been treated the same way at my bank. Not as dramatic, but the same look, the same dismissal. She stood for all of us." A man's voice, weary. "That manager thought her bias was policy. And in 7 minutes, she lost everything. That's justice." Social media boiled with opinions. Clips multiplied, reactions stacked, duets of tears, duets of cheers, duets of people whispering, "Finally." On Twitter, one thread gathered hundreds of thousands of likes. "This isn't just about a CEO. It's about every black customer who's been doubted, delayed, or denied. She didn't need to yell. She just ended it. Imagine how many others don't have her power to fight back. Even LinkedIn lit up, professionals weighing in with polished words. Leadership is when you hold your ground with dignity and act decisively. Maya Carter demonstrated both today. The memes weren't far behind. Screenshots of the manager mid-scream circulated with captions, "How to lose $80 divided by year in 7 minutes." Another showed Maya's calm face under her hoodie with the line, "The most dangerous silence is the one that ends you." In coffee shops, in barber shops, in family kitchens, the conversation repeated itself. Parents told their children, "See how she didn't shout? That's how you hold your power." Friends replayed the clip over dinner, laughing at the manager's downfall, then falling quiet at Maya's final words. Respect isn't optional. The backlash against the bank itself was immediate, comment sections filled with demands. What's the company doing about this? How many more managers like her are still working there? The corporate account scrambled to respond, issuing a bland statement about reviewing internal policies. But the public wasn't satisfied. They wanted accountability, not press releases. The manager herself trended briefly, her name, her face, her shame. But it was Maya's silence that dominated the narrative. Silence that had transformed into a weapon broadcast on millions of screens. And in the tide of public judgment, one truth was impossible to ignore. This wasn't just about a single manager in a single branch. It was about a system of assumptions, a culture of quiet dismissal. Maya Carter's 7 minutes had ripped the curtain down, forcing everyone to look. The headlines weren't just noise to the public, they were alarms inside boardrooms. By the next morning, Carter Global Holdings had called an emergency meeting. The top floor of the headquarters buzzed with urgency. Directors filing in with tablets, assistants whispering updates, screens glowing with graphs of plummeting sentiment. On one wall, a live feed tracked hashtags in real time. Number, Black CEO, number, 7 minutes, number, Bank Justice. The numbers spiked higher every second. Millions of views. Tens of thousands of comments. Stockholders calling for clarity. The chairman cleared his throat, but the room already knew the stakes. "We are facing a PR firestorm," he said. "Every client is questioning whether our brand stands for dignity or discrimination." One director held up his phone, playing the viral clip. The manager's voice echoed across the polished conference table. "She doesn't belong in this bank." Then Maya's calm correction, "This is my branch, and I decide who manages it." The board sat in silence. Even they couldn't deny the power of that moment. An executive in charge of compliance shifted uneasily. "We need to release a statement, stronger than the one yesterday. Public trust is crumbling." Another added, "And we need internal reviews. How many more branch managers are out there treating clients like this? We can't afford another scandal." The head of HR spoke last, her voice steady but urgent. "It's not just about saving face. This is systemic. If the CEO herself can be profiled in her own bank, what does that say about everyone else?" The room fell quiet again. The truth was heavy. Meanwhile, at branches across the country, staff whispered about what happened. Tellers replayed the video in break rooms. Some clapped quietly. Others exchanged glances of shame. "That could have been me," one admitted. "I've doubted people before. What if I'd been caught on camera?" Clients walked into branches emboldened. Some demanded fair treatment. Others wore hoodies and caps deliberately, testing the staff's reaction. The message had spread. Dignity wasn't optional anymore, it was expected. Emails flooded in from shareholders, partners, even rival banks. Some congratulated Maya for her decisive leadership. Others asked if Carter Global would survive the storm. But in every message, one fact was clear. The world was watching. And at the center of it all was Maya Carter, calm, unshaken, the CEO who hadn't raised her voice, but had shaken an entire industry. The corporate echo had begun. What started in one branch lobby now reverberated through every corner office, every policy manual, every trembling manager who wondered if their behavior would be next under the spotlight. The world had already drawn its conclusions. The clips had been watched, dissected, celebrated. The boardrooms had been shaken. But one voice hadn't spoken publicly, not yet. Maya Carter. On the third evening after the incident, she stepped onto a stage at a leadership summit in New York. No hoodie this time. A tailored black suit, crisp white blouse, Her hair swept back, her presence undeniable. The auditorium, packed with executives, journalists, and community leaders, fell silent as the spotlight framed her. She didn't begin with an apology. She didn't begin with anger. She began with a story. 3 days ago, she said, her voice measured, steady, I walked into a branch of my own bank to make a withdrawal, and in 7 minutes, I was told I didn't belong, not because of my balance, not because of my paperwork, but because of how I looked. The audience shifted, restless. Phones recorded, pens scribbled. She paused, letting the weight of silence do its work just as it had in that lobby. And in those same 7 minutes, she continued, a manager revealed her prejudice, a crowd revealed their conscience, and the world revealed its hunger for justice. Applause began, soft at first, then swelling. She raised a hand, quieting them. This was not about one manager. This is about a culture that believes dignity is optional. A culture that tells people they are less than because of their skin, their clothes, their silence. Her eyes swept the room, sharp, unwavering. Let me be clear. Dignity is not optional. Respect is not negotiable. They are the only currencies that never lose value. The words struck like thunder. The applause roared, people rising to their feet. Cameras flashed, capturing her not as a victim, but as a leader declaring terms for the future. She didn't bask in the ovation. She waited. And when the clapping slowed, she spoke one last time. I did not raise my voice. I did not shout. Because justice doesn't need volume. It needs resolve. My silence that day wasn't weakness, it was the countdown to consequence. And consequence always arrives. She stepped back from the podium. The standing ovation surged again, shaking the room. Reporters scrambled. Hashtags lit up, but none of it mattered in that moment. What mattered was the truth that had been spoken. Maya Carter walked off stage with the same calm steps she had taken out of the bank lobby. Silent, steady, certain, and in her silence, a legacy had been born.